I'm the Scrub and you're here for one reason. Wow, Weeping City was pretty fun. I'm really looking forward to whatever comes next in the Mhach series. Oh, you sweet summer child. You are going to die. A lot. By the way, this name has an Irish background, and I'm going to wager that the way I say this is going to sound different to some of you. Time to learn about Dun Sky. Simplified. We immediately start the raid with a boss fight. As you walk forward, Deathgaze Hollow will eliminate the fences on either side of the ship, meaning you can now fall off the arena. The boss will create this medium-sized dark AoE in the middle of the platform and start casting Void Death. Everyone will be sucked in towards the middle of the AoE. You will need to run as far as you can away from the AoE. After the second time it pulls you in, the boss will finish casting and anyone who is still within the boundaries of the AoE will instantly die. You can also use knockback immunity of arm's length or shortcast to avoid being pulled in. 3 players, 1 in each alliance, will be targeted with these green AoEs and the boss will start casting Void Arrow too. After the cast finishes, wherever these players are standing will have a tornado placed at their feet. If anyone walks into these tornadoes after they are placed, they will get an incinerable windburn tick. Void Blizzard 3 will throw out a fan of several narrow conal AoEs with a safe spot in between each one. Although the cast is quick, you will have plenty of time to get to a safe zone. If you get hit by this, it is a pretty nasty hit with an incinerable frostbite tick. The boss will also cast Void Arrow 3. This will create a circular spinning wind animation in the middle of the platform. You will need to position yourself outside of the wind animation, but positioned towards either the entrance or the far side of the arena. The wind will burst and give a knockback to all directions from the middle of the arena. If you've positioned yourself correctly, you'll be pushed back towards the purple walls and survive. If you're standing on a side with no fence, you'll be flung off the platform and die. However, if you have knockback immunity available, you'll be able to survive as long as you aren't standing in the animation, because if you are standing in the animation, you will immediately die. Deathgaze Hollow will cast Doomsay. This will target 1 or 2 random players in each party and put an incinerable Doom debuff on these players. The debuff lasts for 18 seconds, so healers have plenty of time to inciner these debuffs away from the affected players. However, if the debuff isn't removed, the players will immediately die when the debuff's timer expires. After every cycle, the boss will start to create dark squares that will cover 1/8 of the platform. These squares are still safe to navigate through, but beware for when the boss casts Void Death 4, which will cause the squares to begin to pulse. If anyone is standing in these pulsating squares when the cast finishes, they will instantly die. This also acts as a mini enrage, as if all 8 squares are covered and the boss casts Void Death 4, it will wipe the alliance. Void Blizzard 4 creates proximity markers at one side of the arena. Move away from these to reduce the damage to you, but don't go too far away from them for what comes next. Spiked ice boulders will crash down wherever the proximity markers were. The boss will then cross to the other side of the platform and cast Void Arrow 4. This is a huge straight line knockback across the platform. You'll need to position yourself so you'll be knocked into an ice boulder to stop yourself from being thrown off the platform, although you can use your knockback immunity to nullify this. Every other time the boss casts Void Blizzard 4 after this, there will be only 1 proximity marker instead of 2. The next time the boss casts Void Arrow 3, it will reappear on one side of the platform either towards the entrance or the far side and start casting Bolt of Darkness. You will not only need to position yourself to be knocked towards a far wall, you'll also need to be pushed back away from the side that has the boss, as when the boss finishes casting, it will cleave the side of the arena that it is on and give everyone on that side an incinerable bleeding tick. There will also be a few Void Sprite ads that will go down in no time at all. Mechanics will repeat until Deathgaze Hollow has been defeated. Follow the path down the ramp and over the teleporters to be launched to the next area. There will be 3 Void Crystals which will all start casting Void Call. If the cast finishes, there will be ads that will be summoned in their place. These crystals are easy to destroy. Take the teleporters to the next area where there will be 4 Void Crystals and 2 Unblinking Eyes to deal with. Again, the Void Crystals will start casting Void Call and will summon an ad if the cast finishes. The Unblinking Eyes will cast Petrifying Eye. This is a staring contest. There are 2 eyes that you need to look away from. If you're a caster or range, you can position yourself to look towards the entrance to avoid both gazes, and if you're melee, you can look out to the side when you're attacking the eyes, or just look towards a corner from where the crystals are. There will also be the Scaith dragon that will enter the fight. It does have a cleaving tank buster that can one-shot anyone undergeared. It can also put down this dark circular AoE underneath a random player called Dark Thorn, and a point-blank AoE underneath itself called Dark Wave. Just move out of these to avoid them. The ads that will spawn in from the crystals can cast room-wide AoEs if they are left alive for too long, which will give everyone in the alliance a stack of Vulna. When everything is being defeated, head up either staircase, walk the planks, and follow the path around the corner to the second boss, 30 Hollow. 3 players, 1 from each alliance, will get a red marker over their head. These players will be hit with a small point-blank AoE which will leave a spinning scythe in position where that player was standing. If you get hit by the spinning scythe, it will give you an incinerable flesh wound tick. Verdiad will move to the middle of the arena where several Atomos will spawn in. Verdiad will begin casting Wormhole and tether either a big blue orb or a rotating yellow pretzel to one of the Atomos. When the cast finishes, Verdiad will smack the orb or pretzel into the Atomos that it is tethered to, and it will reappear where the other Atomos of the same color is located. If it's the big blue orb, it will be a large AoE. Just get on the other side of the arena opposite to wherever the second Atomos of the same color is located. If it is a yellow pretzel, it will be a donut AoE. To avoid this, just stand wherever the Atomos of the same color is located and you'll be alright. If you get hit by either of these mechanics, it will give you a Vuln stack. Jester's Reap is a 120-degree conal AoE directed towards the main tank. Just move out of it to dodge it. Jongler's X is a casting tank buster. It will more than likely one-shot anyone who isn't a tank. Debilitator will spawn a bunch of small puddles around the room and give everyone one of 2 debuffs. Either fire resistance down 2 or water resistance down 2. Everyone in the raid will get the same debuff. When you you walk over the puddles, they will change between blue for water and orange for fire. These puddles will all need to be the opposite of whatever debuff you have. So if you have fire resistance down, all the puddles will need to be water, and if you have water resistance down, all the puddles will need to be fire. Verdiad will cast Flame Flow and give out room-wide AoE damage for how many puddles were done incorrectly. If all the puddles have been done correctly, it's just a small room-wide AoE. If enough puddles are the same color as your debuff, you will instantly die. After this mechanic is over, Verdiad should be under 60% health and he will become untargetable and move to the middle of the room. He will summon several Atomos around him. These Atomos will dash towards the outside of the arena and give everyone in their path a Vuln stack. When dashing, they will transform into Verdiad's Fool and become targetable. Destroy the ads. Watch out for whichever ad is casting Petrifying Eye, as it is a staring contest. Look away from this ad or risk being petrified, as it has a huge AoE radius for this. Another Fool will cast Ice Ball, which will put AoEs below random alliance members. Several more Atomos will spawn around the arena, and then some of the ads will start casting Lucky Piero. This will cause them to dash to either another point in the arena or into an Atomos, which will teleport it to another point in the arena to finish its dash. If you're in the straight line AoE, you'll again be hit with a Vuln stack. After this, Verdiad himself will cast Jester's Reward, which will cleave half of the arena. You must get out of this AoE or else it will immediately kill you if you are not a tank. The dashing around will repeat until all the ads have been defeated. After everything has been killed, Verdiad will be able to be targeted again. This is where he will perform his ultimate called Jester's Jig. Whenever Verdiad teleports to the middle of the room and does the orbs or pretzels, he will do 2 at the same time instead of 1. The simplest way to solve this, if it's an orb and a pretzel, is to get to the same colored Atomos where the pretzel is going. If it's 2 blue orbs instead, then get to the outside wall between both of the Atomos that will receive the orbs. There should be plenty of time and space to get right out of the way, but be aware the safe zone might be a lot smaller than you're anticipating. Black Fire will create several medium-sized AoEs around the arena and below random players. These will begin to grow in size a few times until they are quite large. Just avoid them as best you can. During the next puddle phase, Verdiad will cast Black Blot, which is a stack marker. Group up to share the damage. From here, Verdiad will repeat mechanics until he has been defeated. Head over the teleporter and up the stairs to the next boss, Proto Ultima. This boss does not have a lot of health. It will do an instant AoE to everyone within melee range called Ether Bent. It will turn to a random player and do the triple straight line AoEs from Portu Decumana, 1 in front and 2 at 45-degree angles on the left and right. If you get hit by this, it will give you an Assunerable slow debuff. After this, it will cast Ethereochemical Flare. This is just a room-wide AoE. It should be underneath the health threshold when this move goes off, at which point it will disappear from the arena. An Electrical Orb will spawn in the middle of the arena and get a stack marker on it. Everyone needs to group up to share the damage. Right after that goes off, the middle spot will become a proximity marker. You need to move away from it to reduce the damage to you. At the same time as this, there will be a yellow wavy ring around the outside of the arena. This will go off first. If you get hit by this, it is a knockback into the middle of the arena, which will leave you very vulnerable to the proximity marker. So just get away as far as you can without going into the yellow wave on the outside. When the single proximity marker goes off, 2 proximity markers will be created on opposite sides of the arena. Everyone will need to get to a point in between both of these markers on the outside without going into the yellow wave again. Right after these go off, Ultima will appear at one end of the arena and do a straight line AoE right through the safe spots of where everyone just was. It is an easy dodge, so just move to the side to avoid it. Following this, there will be 2 elegant dreadnoughts that will land in the arena. They don't have a lot of health and only perform easily avoidable Codal and point blank AoEs. While this is happening, Ultima will cast Supernova. This is a hard-hitting room-wide AoE. When the dreadnoughts have been defeated, Ultima will remain untargetable and tether itself to 3 ether collectors around the arena. It will begin to slow cast Supernova. If this cast finishes, the fight will instantly enrage. You will need to destroy the ether collectors in order to be able to target and damage Ultima again. You'll have the rest of the cast bar to defeat Ultima before he pulverizes the alliance. Head over the teleporter and down the stairs and head into the next arena. Hey, they put Alexa Bliss in the game. Scaith's Tank Buster is a cleave, so don't stand with a tank. Directly after this, she'll put a medium-sized point-blank AoE on the ground around herself. Just be out of melee range when she jumps up. It will be almost instant, so if you're standing in it when you see it, you're getting a Vuln stack. 30 arrows will target a random player with a medium-sized AoE. This will create 4 straight line AoEs in a plus or cross formation and increase to 8 later in the fight. If you have enough damage, you'll only see the 8. If you get hit by any of these, it is a Vuln stack for everyone you get hit by. Following this, she will sprout wings from her back and cast Shade Spin. She will then cleave 2 quarters of the arena in the direction that she is facing. They will always be opposite quarters. The easiest way to dodge this is to look for which wing is raised. It will be initially hard to notice and you don't have much time to get to a safe spot, but I would recommend being either closer to the boss or directly behind her, as you won't have that much distance to move if you need to. If the left wing is raised, she will cleave the front left and back right quarters of wherever she is facing. And if the right wing is raised, she will cleave the front right and back left quarters instead. She can also do an instant point blank AoE around herself, which will give everyone who receives damage from this move a slight knockback. Scaith will then quickly dash to a random player. Everyone will need to move away, as she will create a large AoE underneath her that will cause a Vuln stack if you get hit by it. When the floor flashes and becomes covered in a wispy animation, in chat and on screen it will read, "Shadows gather on the floor." Don't move or attack at all for a few seconds until the arena returns to normal. If you do move or attack, you'll be inflicted with a 10-second unassumable debuff called Shadowlings, which is a combination of a bleeding dot tick and a heavy debuff. A proximity marker will appear somewhere around the arena. Move away from this marker to reduce the overall damage to you. The ad Conla will land in the arena. It is absolutely imperative that Scaith be kept away from this ad. If they tether together, Scaith and Conla will get the buff of Riled, which will significantly increase their damage dealt and be capable of one-shotting almost anyone. If the ad is left alive for a short period of time, it will start to to cast Full Swing. If this cast finishes, it will almost instantly wipe the raid. Players can also be marked with a Shadow-like AoE in a pulsating yellow circle with an arrow underneath them. This will be a tracking AoE that will have large orbs impact the ground where you are standing and follow you. The best way to handle this is to run around the outside of the arena and make sure not to run through the middle of everyone else. If you get hit by an orb, it is a large knockback along with some heavy damage. Scaith will turn to face a random alliance member. She will get a circle with 4 halo swords and an X pattern behind her and start casting Shade Thrust. Immediately move to the side of where she is facing as she is about to perform a straight line AoE, which will give you a Vuln stack if you get hit by it. A couple of ads will spawn in and tether to players called Shadow Limb. It will continuously chase the player it is tethered to. If it reaches the player, it will instantly kill them and tether to another player. The easiest way to avoid dying if you are tethered is simply to just keep looking at the hand. As long as you are looking at it, it will become petrified, the tether will change from purple to white, and it will remain in place, allowing everyone to eliminate it easier. 30 souls is just a room-wide AoE. Scaith will become untargetable and move to the middle of the room. The room will turn into a brighter shade of yellow and she will encase herself in a cocoon. As she does this, there will be a bar in the duty list. If this fills up, you will wipe and start again. Several Jester ads will spawn around the arena which will need to be defeated. After the Jesters have been defeated, 3 Poppets will spawn in and there will be a few meteors that will need to be stood in by one person. As long as the circle is illuminated, someone is standing in it. For every meteor that is missed, it will cause hard room-wide damage. After the Poppets have been defeated, a Chimera will spawn in and perform its usual attacks of Dragon's Voice, which is a donut AoE where the safe spot is inside the Chimera's hitbox, and Ram's Voice, which is a point-blank AoE. Both of these moves are interruptible and it doesn't have a lot of health, so you can burst it down without seeing either of these moves. More Jesters will spawn in, which are easily defeatable. After everything has been defeated, the bar in the duty list will stop filling up and Scaith will become targetable again. She will then cast her ultimate, Blinding Shadow. 30 arrows can now also be a sequence of straight line AoEs moving around in a circular fashion instead of straight line AoEs going off at the same time. If this happens, just try and dodge in between the straight line AoEs and you should be okay. During this final phase, there can also be a stack marker. Group up to share the damage. Scaith will repeat the meteors, Conla spawn, room wides, and 30 arrows until she's been defeated. The arena will move up and you'll be transported to the final area. Diabolos will cast Nightmare and get a big red eye on him, which indicates a staring contest. If you are still looking at Diabolos when the cast finishes, you'll be inflicted with an Incinerable Sleep debuff. This will render you unable to do anything until the debuff expires or has been removed. You can look away from this to avoid it, but this move can also be stunned. Death Gates will spawn in. They will begin casting Void Call. If they finish casting, they will summon a new add to the fight. The gates are easily defeatable. His slow cast of Ruinous Omen is a room-wide AoE. One random player will get a stack marker. Group up to share as much damage as possible. Ultimate Terror is a big donut AoE, so either stand really close to or really far away from Diabolos to dodge the attack, but again, you can stun this attack. Mechanics will begin to repeat from here. He will eventually fly to the opposite point of the arena and become untargetable. He will create a massive black sphere and a life gate will spawn into the arena. The life gate will become targetable. You will need to defeat the life gate. This is as close to Dragon Ball as this game is going to get. A bar will appear on the duty list. Every time this bar fills up, the sphere will get closer to the portal. If the sphere reaches the portal, you will wipe. Every time you defeat the life gate, it will move the sphere away from the portal. The gate will then refill its health bar and gain a stack of HP boost, which increases its total health. More death gates will spawn in during this phase, destroy them to avoid having to deal with more ads. After you defeat the life gate enough times, it will send the sphere back into Diabolos. Diabolos will then reappear, fuse himself with Scaith, and become Diabolos Hollow. He will give out a room-wide AoE with a knockback when this happens. He will also have a buff on him which will act like a massive health shield called Blessing of the Void. While this is on him, his attacks have a 100% crit chance. Any avoidable attack can one-shot you if you don't have decent gear. After you hit Diabolos with enough damage, he will lose the buff. He will then cast Hollow Camisado, which is a very hard-hitting tank buster. Healers need to keep the tanks healed up, or the tank will need to invuln at least one hit and potentially tank swap to another alliance's tank. Diabolos will turn to face a random player and get the circle with 4 Halo Swords and an X pattern. Move to the side if he's facing you, or you get a heavy hit with a stack of Diabolic Curse, which will increase your damage taken. One player will get a purple stack marker with a staring contest above it. This is a little tricky as everyone else needs to stack up and face away from this player. The easiest way to combat this is to have the person with the stack marker be just outside of melee range, so everyone else can group up in front of this player and continue attacking the boss so they're always looking away from the affected player. If you are still looking at the player when the stack marker goes off, you'll be hit with Hysteria and lose control of your character for 10 seconds. 2 players can also be marked with the tracking AoE from Scaith, which will have the large orbs impact the ground where you were standing and follow you. Run around the outside of the arena and make sure not to run through the middle of everyone else. If you get hit by an orb, it is again a large knockback along with some heavy damage. There will be 2 death gates and a diabolic gate that will spawn in. A few party members will have to move into the glowing section of the diabolic gate and be transported to a different area to fight an ad. It doesn't take much to get down, and when you defeat it, you'll return to the arena and the gate will disappear. If no one enters the fight or you fail to defeat the ad, the gate will slow cast Deep Flow. When this finishes, it will perform a big room-wide AoE and spawn the ad into the raid. Havud Inanis is a room-wide AoE. Nightmare is now upgraded to Hollow Nightmare. It is still a look-away mechanic, but instead of being hit with sleep, you are now hit with an Incinerable Doom. Red orbs will begin to float across the arena. If they touch any player, they will explode at a medium-sized AoE and give everyone in the AoE a knockback. You can run into them early on so they explode and don't affect anyone else, or you can ignore them entirely and let them pass. There can also be several meteors that will start descending onto the arena. The meteor circle in the middle will have a different center beam rising out of it. This center circle can only be taken by by the tanks. If a non-tank tries to take this, it will instantly kill them. The ones on the outside can be taken by everyone else. Diabolos Hollow will teleport to a side of the arena and cast Hollow Omen, which is the hard-hitting room-wide AoE. After this, it will cast Double Edge, which will give it the buff of Keen Edge. This will give himself a dot tick, but increase his damage dealt. It will then put a stack marker on a tank. This is just a normal stack marker, so group up to share the damage. It can then teleport to the middle of the room and cast Earth Shakers. A few people in the Alliance will get these bright icons over their heads. These are the same Earth Shakers from Sephiroth, so they will get a narrow conal AoE blasted in their direction from Diabolos' position. Just spread out and avoid overlapping these. From here, Diabolos Hollow will repeat mechanics until he is defeated. Congratulations, you have completed Dun Sky. My name is The Scrub. Thank you for watching.